This tiny dash cam does a great job and it won't break the bank. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I drive a lot. And that means I'm constantly around bad drivers. You know how that works, right? So when something happens that really ends up being your word against their word, which tends to not be great, enter dash cams. The concept's simple. What if you had a camera that recorded everything that's happening around your car? The most simple version of that is everything in front of you, but the really fancy ones actually have multiple cameras. They can have one pointing out the back. You can have it recording what's going on inside the vehicle, which is great for Lyft and Uber drivers. But at its most fundamental, a camera stuck to your windshield that records everything happening is a dash cam, and they are really helpful. And that's what this is. This little tiny cube is the VanTrue Element 1 Pro 4K dash cam. It has beautiful imagery. In fact, let's just jump right to a little bit of footage. The unit is capturing footage at 3840 by 2160 resolution at 30 frames a second, which is indeed 4K resolution. It uses the Sony Starvis 2 IMX678 sensor, which is one of the state-of-the-art sensors. And as you can see, it's crystal clear, but it's not just really clear during the day. Let's look at some night footage too. Low-light footage is obviously the most difficult of all the situations that these are going to have to deal with, and I think it did a really good job. And one of the things you might have noticed on the very bottom is that it said that it had plate picks enabled. And plate picks is an interesting algorithm inside the sensor capture system that's supposed to actually give you better visibility of license plates. And I don't know if you noticed, but those license plates were eminently readable off of the video in daytime and nighttime footage. Now, you can turn plate picks off in the settings if you want, and it does come with a companion app, and that companion app is a little confusing. We'll get there in just a minute. I'll give you a really good demo of that. But plate picks, the downside is it does tend to slightly darken the image because how it's trying to emphasize those plates. So let's just jump in. Let me show you some footage with plate picks and then some footage without plate picks and see if you can tell that there's any difference. Before we go further, let me explain all of this stuff in front of me because it comes with a lot. It's really quite the kit. So this is the main unit, but I should point out that it actually includes this, which is a CPL or a circular polarizing filter. And the idea is that when you put this on your windshield, sort of by the nature of the physics of things, there's reflections from all around from your dashboard. And you can use this, and this literally is what I did, is you put it on and then you slowly rotate it while you're looking at the preview in the app. And I found that if I just incremented like 20 degrees at a time, I got to a point where all of the reflections from my dashboard just vanished. And that's why that footage was so clean. Again, let's just jump back into a little more daytime footage because it's just really fun. And in fact, this I'm going to speed up a little bit. On the back of this is a little 1.5-inch color screen, which is plenty big enough for you to be able to see what's going on, and you can navigate with it. What happens is that as you go through settings and stuff, text appears at the bottom above the 3 buttons that are on the bottom of the unit. And so you press the corresponding button to pick a time zone, enable Wi-Fi connectivity so you can pair it with your phone, and so on. Pretty important, but generally something you're going to do probably once and never touch again. On the right-hand side is USB-C for power, and on the left-hand side is a power and delete button, micro SD slot, because it comes with a micro SD card. Let me just pull this out here. So it's a pretty slim 64 gig micro SD card, but it can support up to 1 terabyte. And then of course, this no one can read on their computer, so it comes with an SD card adapter. So you put the micro SD card in here, and then you can put it into your computer or your SD card reader. My Mac system actually has an SD card reader built into the unit. So I found it much more convenient to pop the micro SD card out of this, put it in the adapter, and then I could very easily navigate through hundreds or thousands of files. And if you aren't familiar with dash cams, I should tell you that it works in a sort of circular write pattern. So it uses 1 minute, 2 minute, or 3 minute segments that's adjustable in the settings. We'll see that in a second. And then it just will overwrite the oldest of the videos that are in your regular storage area on the card. So for 64 gig, you might have 2 or 3 hours of footage broken up into 1 minute segments. But if you put in a terabyte, you might have the last 50 hours of driving, which is going to be great if you are a commercial driver or you're doing a big road trip and you want to capture that footage. And it's like, wait a minute, when we were in Nebraska, let's go back up and see where we were there and what was going on around the car, because I feel like there was something that we just totally missed. You can do all of that. It all happens behind the scenes. All you have to know is that you put the storage device into the side of this, and then you just ignore it. And then if something happens, you get home, you pop the card, or you can actually access it directly from the app on your smartphone, and then you can just find that footage and save it. Really pretty slick. So the front lens, this is a 158 degree field of view f1.8 lens, so that's a pretty fast lens. And this works with both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It actually establishes its own Wi-Fi network, which you connect to with your phone when you're running the app. If you have the choice, always pick the 5 gigahertz. It will transfer data faster, which is going to be one of the primary uses of the app interacting with the VanTrue Element 1 Pro Dashcam. So GPS logging, it has voice control, which I found a bit of a mixed bag because I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and every so often I'd be listening to the audiobook and it would take a snapshot. And I don't know why, because if I said take snapshot, then it would take one. But the audiobook didn't use those 2 words, but somehow it heard something that sounded close enough that it decided it would take a snapshot. So I have extra snapshots. They're really, really small. It doesn't take up much storage space, so it's not a big deal. But again, in settings, you can actually disable that feature. So it does have a 24/7 buffered parking mode. You can get an LTE adapter so that you can actually have it stay online even if you don't have your phone present. So LTE is a cellular connectivity tool or technology. And it does pre-recording, so it has a 15-second buffer. So one of the things with dash cams is they have G sensors or gravity sensors. So if you like crash into someone, it doesn't like start recording now that you've crashed. That would not be very useful. It actually can record the previous 15 seconds. So it's always like slightly ahead of time in terms of like time travel or something. But this is really great because if like you rear end someone or someone hits you or something, then it will actually catch the accident just as it's happening rather than just the aftermath of the accident. So really very useful, very common on dash cams to have that. So let's see, what else can I tell you? So we've talked about that and the adapter. Optionally, you can get a hardwire kit for the dash cam. By default, it is a cigarette adapter and USB-C on the other end and a really long wire, so you can plug it into your cigarette lighter or 12-volt plug, and then you can run the wire around your windshield so that it's relatively hidden. And in fact, they even include a tool to help you sort of tuck it under the parts of your roof and such so that it looks really nice. This is the other half of the mount, so it actually is magnetic. I think it slides in from the front. And so that's what it's going to look like. Normally, people would take the whole sticker off, but since I only use these temporarily as I test them, I tend to leave part of the sticker on, but it's an extremely sticky 3M substance. So you put it on as close to your rear view mirror as possible. You can see in these pictures. And then what's nice is that there's actually electrical connectivity between the two. So there's now an extension USB-C on the windshield mount. So you can have the wire be even more discreet. Instead of having it come all the way down to here, it can actually plug in up there. So this, pretty critical. And we already talked about that polarizing filter, very helpful. There's spare sticky, two-way sticky you can put on here if you want to move it to a new car. There's stickers you can put on your car window to let people know, yo, don't mess with me, I am recording. And there's a charging cable, USB-A to USB-C. There's some cleaning cloth because you really not only want to make sure that it's clean where you're going to stick it, but you want to make sure it's clean where the camera is looking out through the windshield. When I first installed it, I didn't adjust the polarizing filter and I didn't clean the window in front of it. And especially at night, it was just so glary and it was not good. But as you saw, the footage I have now is really clean. It did a really nice job. So let's see, what else does it come with? It comes with some invitation for you to share some of your footage online. And it comes with a quick start page. And more importantly, it comes with a user manual. And this user manual's pretty comprehensive. It's in a number of languages, so this is not all just English, but it really did help me understand how all the functions worked. And speaking of which, let's jump into that demo of the app, because this is a pretty complicated app with a lot of things we're going to do. So I'm going to switch things around and narrate how the app worked, and you'll see everything you can do to manage your dash cam. I've already paired it, so all I have to do is tap on the Connect Device button, and it actually has that Wi-Fi network that the dash cam creates. I pair with it, and now I'm seeing a live view, and I can, for example, tap on the crossbars to make sure that it is level. The primary controls are around the bottom, so you can mute, let's see, by tapping on the microphone. You can take a snapshot by tapping on the camera icon. You can turn off record or turn on record, which is what I just demonstrated. And then finally, on the bottom, you can actually go to the SD card browser. If I go to the mobile local folder, then you can see that I only have one video that I've saved. But if I go to the SD card folder, this is the actual SD card in the dash cam. And now I have 14 videos and 2 snapshots. And if I tap on normal video, then here are all my video segments. So for example, if I tap on this particular footage, now I can actually watch it in the preview window, and you'll notice that there's no GPS info below. And yes, I want to download the file. And so I'm connected with 5G, so it's pretty quick. Let's just jump to the end. So downloaded. So now it can show me where I was on a map. And you can see I was at 287 and 9th Avenue. If I sync the file, then it actually saves a copy on my phone itself. And I can even do some simple video editing in the app, though I feel like that's probably an unnecessary feature. I can also choose what mapping software it should work with. So let's go back to the main screen. And there, caught up. It took a second. And now I'm going to tap on that gear icon, and we're going to get into settings. And there are a lot of settings, starting with resolution. You can go to a lower resolution if you want to have more storage. You can also turn on or off plate picks. many different settings. It's pretty complicated, and I gotta say, having all the settings in one super long list rather than having it broken down by sort of functionality does make it a little bit more complex. But my experience is you go through that once, and probably you're going to be sitting in a parking lot, letting the car run so that this stays powered on, and you're just going to sit there and go through and make all the settings and adjustments that you want, and then you're done, and you're not really ever going to touch it again. And my experience with dash cams is that they are a set and forget device. Get it properly installed, run the wire the way that you want it so that it's least annoying, and then just every time you get in the car, it'll have a little cheery beep and it'll tell you that it started recording. And then when you get to the other end of your destination, then you'll turn off your car, this will turn off, and you don't have to worry about it. And if something happens, then you can actually go and grab the footage and see what occurred. If there's an accident, you'll be able to capture the accident because it'll actually have that on its memory. So that's exactly the purpose of these. And this one in particular works really well. So having given you a ton of explanation and a lot of demos, let me talk about my experience with this. Number one, take the time to adjust the polarizing filter. Again, get it on your car, put it on, pair it with your phone app, look at it in the biggest possible view, so horizontally, and then just slowly turn the filter a little bit until you get the least reflections possible, and that'll give you the best possible image. I think this is a terrific unit. I think that the Starvis 2 sensor is just capturing really clean, crisp video footage, and I enjoyed going back and reliving my exciting drives through different neighborhoods and stuff. You might not have, but imagine you're driving through a city, or there's a parade going past, or you see something strange on the road. The only thing I will warn you about with this that I think is important is that it does run really hot. I mean, really hot. When you're done with your drive, if you immediately go and put your hand on it, you're going to find it's almost too hot to touch. And I found that if I was on a drive and then I stopped and then immediately went to grab the micro SD card, that was hot too. So I think they have some issues with heat dissipation, but it doesn't seem to affect the functionality of this. And I went and reviewed probably 100+ reviews that people have left of this device, and definitely many people complain about the heat, but no one has said that it has caused any problems for them. So it might just be that it's just a really small form factor. And of course, modern devices can run hot. That's okay. That's not necessarily a problem. But I have a feeling that the VanTrue Element 2 might have a better or different heat dissipation system so that it'll be hot, but not super hot. Anyway, that is pretty much everything I have. This is at a remarkable price. This is a really good dash cam. That's number one job it is doing really well, which is capturing really good, clean, high-def video footage. And if you don't have a dash cam, this is a very affordable way to get into this space and try it out and see if this works for you and your style of driving. Remember that it's recording all the audio unless you turn that off. So if you're having an intimate conversation with someone while you're driving, it's going to be on here too. So that's something to think about. So that's pretty much what I got. I really think this is one that's worth a closer look if you're in the market. Now, I am going to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Click or tap on that button, hit the bell icon for notifications of my new content, and I hope you found this of value, so give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate that feedback. Cool. This is the VanTrue Element 1 Pro 4K dash cam, and it's currently $149.99, which is a really good price, discounted down to $119.99, which is a crazy good price at Amazon.com. For $120, this is a 4K dash cam with a lot of really cool features, and it's something where you might have to spend a few extra minutes getting it all set up the way you want, but then you're going to get really great footage, and it's going to do exactly what you want. And that's a pretty rare thing in our modern electronic world. So that's what I got. I need to get this back in my car, so I'll have to catch you in my next video.